Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I'm back to ranking the NBA's positions, and today we're going to be doing small forwards. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and the NBA, consider subscribing. I upload every single day. Okay, here we go. If you haven't seen one of these before, I didn't put the players down at the bottom. This is something that I found off of Tiermaker. This one is very updated. For example, Andrew Wiggins is on the Warriors, and then I made up my own categories over here on the left: Superstar, All-NBA, All-Star, Starter, Bench, and Bum. We're going to go through all of these guys, beginning with Kyle Anderson of the Memphis Grizzlies. And I'm going to go with a solid bench player here for Kyle Anderson. He's a guy that has kind of been a fringe starter bench guy for his career. Had some nice moments in San Antonio, signed that new contract with Memphis. A bigger guy that can play make, not a great athlete, not an outstanding defender, but can do a couple of things pretty well, which makes him a solid NBA player, but in my opinion, not a solid starter. Next up now, OG Anunoby, I'm going to put in the solid starter category. Someone that can really defend, is improving as an off-ball shooter, and even as a younger player, unexpectedly has shown a little bit of playmaking off of drives and things like that, at least a little bit of an ability to find the open man. An outstanding fit there in Toronto, and a really, really good young forward, so he's going to go in the starter category. Next up now, Trevor Ariza. And the conversation here for me is between bench and bum. And I really like Trevor Ariza in the past, his 3-and-D capabilities. I'm going to go with bench here, but he's obviously getting much older. His career is definitely on the downhill. And so hopefully he can maintain his production from three-point range and still be at least an okay defender enough to stay in that bench category. Next up now, Harrison Barnes is going to go in the starter category as well. This is someone that continues to, in my opinion, get a bit disrespected. This happens with players when they get a bigger contract. When he left Golden State, got a big deal with Dallas, and was a good player with Dallas pretty much the entire time he was there. Was he perfect? No. Was he an all-star caliber player? No. But he can score the ball, he can defend, he's got size, he's got versatility, a two-way player. Not everybody is going to be an all-star, a future all-NBA caliber guy. He's a solid starter, and he's being paid like one, and so he is going to go in the starter category. Next up now is Will Barton, who is going to go in the starter category, but I don't feel like he's really a starting player in terms of what he should be doing. He's more of a spark plug type guy off the bench, more of a six-man role, in my opinion at least. Can score the ball, can shoot it, and so from a talent standpoint, I'm putting him in the starter category from a production standpoint, but role-wise, it would probably make more sense for him to come off the bench. Next up now, I believe that's Isaac Bonga, and he is going to be in the bum category. I'm sorry, dude, you haven't done enough in the league to deserve even a bench opportunity, and really just your situation is the only reason that you happen to be on this list of starting small forwards. Next up now, Mikael Bridges. I really want to put him in the starter category, but I'm not sure that we've seen enough from him to know that he is a solid starter type small forward. I'm going to put him there, but he's definitely near the bottom tier of these starting small forwards. A guy that's a really good athlete, improving as a three-point shooter. Doesn't have great length, which kind of holds him back defensively. But I'm gonna feel okay about putting him there in the starter category. Next up now, DeMar DeRozan, which is interesting because I wouldn't have thought of him as a small forward, but we're gonna put him. Fine, we'll put him in the all-star category. We'll be a little bit kind today. Someone that, his game doesn't necessarily fit the modern NBA super well, but he can still score, he can still get to the rim, he can still play make, and I don't feel comfortable putting him below an all-star caliber player at this point. Who is this? Is that Lou Dort? Hold on one second. It is Lou Dort. Okay, I didn't immediately recognize him. He's going to go in the bench category, solid player, but I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know a ton about his game, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. We're just going to put him in the bench category. Next up now for the Orlando Magic, James Ennis. I'm going to put him in the bum category as well. Someone that has tried to hold on to a couple of different roster spots in the last couple of seasons, but every time that he's on the floor, just doesn't really do much. I mean, he's there, can make an occasional shot, but he is just there for teams that don't have a ton of perimeter wing depth like the Sixers last year, and can hold down a couple of minutes a game, but not really do anything too impactful. Next up now, Aaron Gordon, and he, in my opinion, is going to go in the starter category. Maybe you could say borderline bench here because he does come off the bench for the Rockets a good amount, but I think that has more to do with his role. And yeah, his three-point percentage has been kind of off for the last year and a half or so, but still, talent-wise, I think that Aaron Gordon is a starting caliber player. Next up now, Tim Hardaway Jr., similar story. I think you can live with Tim Hardaway Jr. as your starting shooting guard. A guy that can score the ball, a guy that can shoot. Not great size at the 2 spot, maybe a little bit undersized, or excuse me, at the 3 spot, maybe a little bit undersized for that position, and not great defensively either, but from a shooting and a scoring standpoint, I'm going to put him in the starter category. Next up, is this Moe Harkless? I'm going to go ahead and guess that that's Moe Harkless. I'm going to put him in the bench category. I know that he started some games in the beginning of the year for the Clippers and then played a good amount for the Knicks as well. But on a typical team, I don't think that Moe Harkless is really going to be starting for you. A guy that has good length and some versatility, can defend, but not a great shooter. But I'm just going to put him in the bench category. Next up now, Tobias Harris. Is it all-star? Is it starter? He's being paid like an all-star, maybe even all-NBA caliber guy. I'm going to put him in the starter category, but definitely the upper tier of starters. Has that versatility, can score as a front court player. 6'9", great size, can get to the rim a little bit, can shoot a little bit, can play make a little bit. Nice all-around player, overpaid, but still a nice all-around player. He's going to go in the starter category. Next up now, Deandre Hunter. For the moment, I'm going to put him on the bench just because I want to see more out of him moving forward. I don't feel comfortable putting him in like a true starter role at the moment, but I do have high hopes for him as a versatile 3-and-D player down the road. Next up now, Joe Ingles, another guy going in the starter category. Not a ton of like crazy superstar players to this point on this list, but Joe Ingles is another guy that can play make. He can play on or off the ball. He can shoot. Had some struggles this season, kind of adjusting to Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic being there now in Utah, but still a nice player. Next up now, Brandon Ingram, and he is in the all-star category. I know it's only one season of all-star production, but every time you watch Brandon Ingram play, he was scoring the ball extremely well, mid-range, three-point range, get to the rim, get to the free throw line, even playmaking a little bit. Whatever Brandon Ingram was ever supposed to be throughout his NBA career, he became that this year with the Pelicans. I'm excited to see what he does moving forward after he gets this big contract this offseason, presumably. Next up now, superstar for Kawhi Leonard. Don't really need to explain that one at all, to be completely honest. Karras Levert. Some of these are repeated because not every single person made the exact same list here. So we've covered Karras Levert in the shooting guard category, and then we covered LeBron in the point guard category as well. Karras Levert is going to go solid starter here. I think moving forward, he could potentially be, depending on the situation, depending on his health, maybe a borderline all-star caliber player, but for right now, he is a starter. LeBron's going to go superstar. Again, no conversation really necessary there. Chris Middleton is going to go all-star simply because he's made some all-star teams. Obviously, yes, that's in the Eastern Conference, but I think he's above all of these players here in the starter category. He has that two-way play, the ability to defend, the ability to shoot, the ability to work a little bit in the mid-post and the mid-range as well. Really nice compliment for Giannis and a really nice young player. Next up now, Mikael Bridges. I don't know. Do I feel comfortable enough putting him in the solid starter category? Probably not. I think right now he's a nice little rotation forward, but moving forward he needs to show more consistency-wise from three-point range as well as some other aspects of his game to really, in my opinion, be considered a starting caliber player. And I'm going to give the same rationale for Josh Okogie. I love the effort and the energy that he provides. I love the defense. I love the athleticism, but offensively still plenty of things to work on. So in my opinion, he is still a bench player. Next up now, Otto Porter Jr., again, kind of another guy like Harrison Barnes, got overpaid, whatever, still a really good player, can defend, and someone that has been a really consistent shooter for his entire career, and is a nice piece there in Chicago, either as a trade piece, an expiring contract, or just as a player. Just because someone becomes overpaid does not mean that they are overrated, and Otto Porter's a nice player. Next up now, Cedi Osman. I'm off the Cedi Osman bandwagon, unfortunately. I think he's a rotational player. I don't think he's going to be very much more than that moving forward, so he goes in the bench category. Duncan Robinson now, another guy that we covered in the shooting guard category. I honestly think that this guy is a legit starting player now at this point because of his shooting ability. He's playing a ton of minutes for Miami the last couple of weeks leading up to the league being suspended. Obviously still needs to work on some things defensively, but when you can shoot the ball that well, I think that you are a starting caliber player. Next up now, I want to say that's Tony Snell. The picture's kind of small, or is that... Maybe that isn't Tony Snell. Whoever it is, they're going to go in the bench category. Next up now, Jayson Tatum. Okay, so now I'm rethinking my Brandon Ingram thing because, like, Tatum, in my opinion, the floor here is all-star. The conversation is, are we going all-NBA here? But if we go all-NBA for him, we have to go all-NBA for Brandon Ingram. And so do I think that both those guys are all-NBA caliber players? Because the forward spots are so loaded, I'm going to say all-star, but I think moving forward, maybe even this time next year, we could definitely put Ingram and Jayson Tatum in the all-star category. potentially. Next up now, TJ Warren, a guy that for me is a solid starter, can shoot the ball, and that's pretty much the one thing that was holding him back a ton in Phoenix was his inability to shoot. His final season there, he really cranked it up from three-point range, and a guy that has a nice scoring touch as well, good size, can defend a little bit. And then Andrew Wiggins, another player that, yes, got overpaid, but I think can do some things on the basketball court, needs to improve in a lot of areas, especially efficiency, whether it's turnovers or shooting from the field, but still a nice player and a solid starter. So there is the list, and surprisingly, no All-NBA players here. And some of these can be a little wonky with who is and isn't listed as a small forward. Like, for example, Paul George isn't here. I would have put him in the All-NBA category. We already did LeBron in the point guard video, but still, it's more like we know that LeBron and Kawhi are going to go superstar. It's more about some of the other conversations to be had. Chris Middleton, Brandon Ingram, Jayson Tatum, DeMar DeRozan, some of these other guys, Tobias Harris, maybe you could make an argument should have been higher up. Things like that make these a little bit more interesting. But yeah, there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.